Sounds like TJ's happy to be out of the altitude, though. I heard about the game. He was tired after that game.
I told him to get on the oxygen, bro. He was being, stubborn. Oh, I don't need that. Then the last couple plays, he's just jogging off the field like he has no wind in his chest. It's tough in the altitude, and some guys think it's not that serious. Don't play around with it. You will be very surprised. Week 2 is in the books, and we are back with another episode of Not Just Football with Cam Heyward. And as always, I'm joined with Hayden Walsh. On today's episode, we will look back at the Broncos game and then have a preview of the Chargers game. But Hayden, how'd you think about the Broncos game so far?
Oh, I thought the Broncos game was great. That's been a place of horror for you. I don't think you've never won in Denver, have you?
No, I didn't. Denver has always been a little trippy for me. The altitude is crazy. I was like doing my inhaler, my nebulizer. It was crazy. Like, I was such a stickler about not letting like my chest get the best of me in my breathing. So like nebulizer the day before, nebulizer the day of, nebulizer at halftime, and then I was sucking oxygen all throughout the game.
The nebulizer's the thing that goes on the nose and around the head, right?
No, it's just literally a mask now. It's not, you don't have to wrap it anymore.
Man, I want to see you in that nebulizer. Bad. Well, what'd you think of the game? How did you see it? I thought the defense played amazing again. Offense showed some great signs. Some penalties really held you guys back there, but I thought a really good complementary football battle, dominated time of possession again, which I know that's the way you guys want to play. How did you see it from your end?
I love when we dominate the time of possession. I think that allows our defense to stay fresh. Offense took care of the ball, no turnovers, but, we got a touchdown early, left some points on the field that we got to take advantage of in the future. On defense, I thought we came up with some critical plays. One big play was Deshaun Elliott, the 3rd and 1, blew that up in the backfield, make them punt. Another big play, Corey Trice, we call him Trice sometimes, but him coming up with the interception to keep 7 points on the board. Then we go down and get a field goal, so it's a 10-point swing off of that. And I just thought it was really good complementary football. I thought there was a multitude of guys who played well, getting a pick by KZ, and then, another guy, and we'll talk about this later, but Corliss Waitman, he was our new punter this week, stepping in, was with the Denver Broncos, and stepped up big for us. So, we had a lot of contributors to this win, but, it's pretty nice to sit at 2-0 right now.
Yeah, 2 wins on the road, too.
Yeah.
And I think that Falcon win looks a lot better after last night. That was a good win for them in Philadelphia. But I also, though, need to go into that Corey Trice play. You had a great pressure on that play. Were you a little frustrated, though? You couldn't get home, huh?
Hell yeah, I'm frustrated. I'm trying to get sacks, and, quarterback's just throwing it just so he doesn't take the sack. But, to all the quarterbacks going in the future, please take the sacks. But, it does work in our favor to get some turnovers and prevent them from getting on the board. But, how about Corey Trice, a guy who's already been on our podcast. But, if you listen to his story and what's gone on and to see what happened last year and then come back this year, get a pick, a game-saving pick that really, I think, solidified the game was huge for us. And, he's a kid who works very hard, works his tail off, and he's just going to keep getting better. That's the thing. We got 2 of these big corners and Joey Porter Jr. and him, and then you just look at where their potential is, they could be very special one day.
Yeah, the secondary as a whole has played great to start the year. One thing I did want to say, though, about the sacks, it looked like when TJ sack, his aura, there were memes going around that his aura is what really put Bo Nix on the ground. Have you ever seen that before, where a quarterback kind of just goes down when he sees a guy coming around the edge?
Well, if we're going to talk about guys, falling to the ground, you got to go to the wooden Indians of the quarterback, where, it's the Peyton Mannings who, if they face any pressure, they just fall to the ground. I remember one time in Denver, he felt pressure, fell right to the ground, and then got right back up without us touching him. And so, there's guys like him. Brady, in the end, was real big about, going down, not taking the big hits. And I think he'll learn from him. He's athletic enough where Bo Nix is going to be, dicing up people for a very long time. But, you don't want to be a wooden ending and falling straight to the ground.
Dude, that play where Peyton, he slides. Let's be real. He slid there, then got right back up. If you would have touched him on the ground, you would have gotten a personal foul. That's one of the most frustrating plays in Steelers history. I will never forget that play.
Yeah.
You mentioned Bo Nix. What'd you think of the rookie? Obviously, he was getting the ball out quick. It's very tough. Your second start in the NFL against a really good defense. How'd you see him?
I thought he played decent. I think playing against us, a more seasoned defense, you got to be able to mix some things up. Extended some plays, uses his feet pretty well. You could definitely see a growth from week 1 to week 2. I think week 1 he ran out of bounds a couple times and gave sacks that way, so they were going back. But I think he's got a good play caller in Sean Payton to really mix it up for him. We call them extended handoffs where it's a bubble screen or it's a toss to really get stuff on the edge. The one thing I was surprised by, and it's not a knock on Bo Nix, but it's why did they punt it? Or why did they go for the onside kick? And why didn't they go for the onside kick after they hit the field goal? I was kind of surprised by that. I think as a defense, in that situation, you're down 10 points. You go ahead and get your touchdown. I think you had 2 timeouts left. And I think they were already past the 2-minute warning. I really didn't understand the call where you're not kicking an onside kick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, though, it was very, very, very good win. That's a good win on the road. You have to be very happy, though. Talk about Justin Fields. I don't know if we're considering him the backup still. I don't know what that situation is. Don't really care about that. What does the team think about Justin Fields, and what did you see from him?
Man, Justin's playing amazing right now. Controlling the game, just an even demeanor. Never feels like it's too much. Never feels like it's too little. Making big plays. A couple of those plays got called back due to holding. But between Justin and I thought GP played a really good game. Just didn't get the notoriety of getting the stats behind it. But between those two, I thought they had a real connection.
Has there ever been a better 2-catch game in the NFL? Pickens really controlled that game on certain points of it, but you're right, the numbers didn't show it. But Surtain might be the best corner in football, Joey Porter Jr. side, but I think George Pickens really held his own against him.
Yeah, I think both of those guys were circling this game. They both wanted to challenge each other, and I think the selfish part of me was like, GP should just get that catch and we keep it moving. But, we're just going to keep growing. And I think, if you can have games where you have 2 catches and still have a dominant affection on the game, it's going to lead to a lot more in the next game.
All right, now there's one thing I do want to talk about because I had never heard this before, but petty game ball. Has that ever been given out before, or was that just new this year?
No, we've given out game balls like that before, and it wasn't just Russell Wilson getting a petty game ball. It was Corliss Waitman that they both came from Denver, and they both had played in Denver, and so you want to reward guys when you get to play your old team. I'm sure other teams do that as well, but my team made sure we delivered those game balls even before the game. We knew we wanted to win this one for Russ and the guys who have been there before. Just because, you want to act like you want to be the pasture's always the grass is greener on your side now. And so we just want to appreciate those guys and make them know that we're taking care of them from here on out.
Did Arthur Smith get a petty game ball?
Yeah.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then Patrick Queen's hoping to get 2 petty game balls this year, right? Is it just when you play a former team you get a petty game ball?
Pretty much.
Okay. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, good win. I think your first win in Denver, so congrats on that. That place, like I said, has been a house of horrors for you.
And can I say this? When we talk about Denver, I don't want to go back because I've been hearing all these conspiracy theories about the Denver airport, and it's kind of freaking me out. Denver, very nice people, but the stuff I heard about the city of tunnels underneath the airport kind of freaks me out. The horse. If you want to go a deeper dive, I'm pretty sure they have plenty of those on YouTube. But stay away from the Denver airport, guys. It's pretty wild. And that's your Cam conspiracy of the day.
I didn't know we were going to have a Cam's conspiracy topic on the show today, but where did this come from? I didn't know you knew about this or you even cared about this.
Well, some of the guys who got in the petty game balls were telling me about their time in Denver and what they had heard over it, and so my wife went and she enjoyed her time, but like I was hearing all this crazy stuff and just kind of freaked me out. The tunnels underneath the airport is just wild to me, and then they just say there's like all this stuff on the walls in the airport.
Yeah, they say the artwork tells you. Yeah, I've seen that. The artwork tells a story, a scariest story about the apocalypse or something like that, right?
It's just wild to me, bro. Like, I don't want to be watching this stuff on TV. Now I got to just go to an airport and see it. So, like, I'm just, you won't see me moving to Denver anytime soon.
Yeah, it looks like it contains the Illuminati's headquarters. I'm looking at it right now online. So, yeah, it contains the Illuminati headquarters, too. So maybe I would stay away from the Denver airport. Maybe you're right.
I'm good.
I didn't know that. That's wild. Well, thank you for that. And I'm going to go down a YouTube rabbit hole now during the show.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now we want to talk about our favorite segment. It's our 4 and Out segment. The first one, the Panthers have announced they will be benching Bryce Young and starting Andy Dalton. Is it too soon? Is it time to talk about the Panthers trade as being the worst trade in NFL history?
Well, first off, do you know the trade before you go into do you remember the trade?
I do not remember the trade.
Okay, so the trade was the first overall pick for wide receiver DJ Moore, a 2023 first round pick that was 9 overall, a 2023 second that was 61 overall, a 2024 first round pick that was number 1 overall, and a 2025 second round pick.
Wow. That's a lot. But I'm going to take a different stance on this.
You didn't know. You really did not know the trade.
I did not know.
Man, wow.
But I'm going to take a different stance on this. I know we're in an instant gratification culture where I want it now. I want everything to happen right now. And I just think, and I'm speaking personally because there's growth to be had. Bryce Young is not a complete player. I'm pretty sure he would tell you that if he got the chance. But be patient, people. Be patient, fans. Be patient. Let him grow. Peyton Manning, his first year, led the league in interceptions. You have to give a young player time. I know everybody likes to think the sky is falling and we can't win with this guy. But, you look at what Baker Mayfield is doing now, Sam Darnold is doing now. It's more about the situation you create around him rather than the situation he's in. There's a team that needs to grow. And whether it's your practice habits, he can learn from a guy like Andy Dalton or, what he does in the off season. But I'm not ready to just, say this is the worst NFL trade in history because there's still a lot of upside that can come from this. And I think a couple years from now, you could be talking like Bryce Young is one of the top players in the game, but there's a lot of work to be had. And I can't condemn a guy that, is still young and still learning in this game because I was in a situation just before, I didn't play my first 3 years where I needed to, learn how to be a pro, learn how to take care of my body, learn how to study, learn how to, get stronger. And I think that applies, as a quarterback as well. There's very rarely quarterbacks that are ready to go from day one. Mm-hmm. Look at Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes even got time to, stay behind Alex Smith and learn the system. You just have to give these guys time to grow, and they'll be successful one day.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things there. The Panthers are one of the least stable organizations in the sport right now. I also don't love the roster around him. I think they've kind of given up a lot, as we've talked about with the trade. So there's a lot there, and you've mentioned other names. Darnold, Baker, Geno Smith is another name that comes to mind of guys who have maybe struggled at one spot, went somewhere, got some love in, got it coached up, and became better players. I agree. To call him a bust now is unfair. I think, though, we have to agree there's two things here why he's considered a bust right now. The draft compensation that they traded for him and the fact that C.J. Stroud went second overall in that draft. And, you said rookies don't come in and look great. Well, C.J. Stroud looked like a veteran pretty quick in there. And I know he's not
C.J.
normal.
Stroud is the unicorn of the group.
But Cam, that's who he's going to be compared to. It's a lot like Alex Smith and Aaron Rodgers, right? Alex Smith will always have the Aaron Rodgers thing attached to him because that's who was taken over. He was taken over. So I think that's
you could also look and say, how is this the worst trade when you have the Browns, for whatever player they've gotten in return, the amount of the capital that you've traded is even astronomically more than what Carolina did. Mm-hmm. And so that's even, like, I don't even say, this guy didn't win enough games or this, but when you look at what the Browns did, multiple first-round picks, and they're still dealing with that, but it's crazy when you it's crazy to see everybody turn on Bryce Young and just say, man, this kid's got to go. I think there's a lot of room to see where he ends up on the other side of this.
I'm also like, if it was this easy for him to get benched after 2 games, why not let him sit for a couple games and let Andy Dalton just start? And then if Andy Dalton isn't very good, you can just go to Bryce Young and say he's ready to go now, right? It's like if it was this easy for him to lose the job, I don't know.
And then, like, it's not easy when you change coordinators and coaches every other year. Mm-hmm. It's hard to get into a rhythm. It's hard to know what's expected of you. You have to deal with the growing pains. You can't just say, oh, we fixed it right away. You have to be willing to let a kid bounce back. Yeah, okay, the first 2 weeks have been rough. Is that indicative of how the next week is going to be? Because if I'm a competitor, it shouldn't be. And so, I just think there's a lot to grow on with that.
And Bryce hasn't been great, but they have been horrible on defense too. They've gotten blown out the last 2 games.
Eric Brown's hurt.
It's a total team effort on why they're struggling right now, and it's not just Bryce Young.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to second down here. The Rams have been hit with the injury bug. Multiple guys out. Obviously, Puka Nacua was out last week. Cooper Kupp now this week. John Johnson, safety's out. Is this unlucky? Is this just happens, or is this a thing that could be like training is like doing this? Because that's a lot of guys on injured reserve and hurt right now.
I think it's unlucky. I think in the NFL, you're bound to get hurt. It's just a matter of when you get hurt, and they're just piling it on, left and right. And I think. You don't really blame it on training because, I think for the veteran guys, you take a little bit of time off, but you're jumping right back into training right after the season. And, I think everybody's very keen on trying to take care of your body. Mm-hmm. And you don't even need a training staff that your team has provided. Most guys are going elsewhere. Most guys are trying to find, different ways to take care of their body, you name it. And, sometimes it's just, unfortunately, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
How has your practice throughout the season, like how much you practice throughout the season, evolved over your 15 years? Because I'm thinking like a guy like Cooper Kupp. He's been there, done that. Does he really need to practice a whole lot throughout the week?
I think there's a fine line. One is, preparing and getting ready, getting your steps. But there's also, you don't need to run every single play. You don't need to be going 100% just every day. It just doesn't work that way. You've got to rely on your mental reps. You've got to be locked in and find different ways to do it. But it's rough. Rest is key, but you don't want to lose your edge.
I heard someone tell a story about Joe Thomas that he'd never practiced throughout the week by the end of his career. Did you ever have a teammate who didn't need to practice would still go out there and ball on Sunday?
When I came in 2011, Aaron Smith and Casey Hampton. Casey would take like a day off. Aaron, I think, was practicing, just Fridays. But when it came to the games, those dudes were locked in, played with great hands, and you just you find different ways. Coach Dunbar has always been big on me now, talking about it's about a marathon, and so I've gotten creative and trying to I might not get the reps during practice I want, and so I might be doing stuff before and after. But you just got to find out what's right for you and have a good schedule to go along with that.
You just doing pass rush moves at the house on the wife and kids? Is that what you're just working on them?
No, that would probably be abuse.
No, you got to hit them. Just work on the. I saw the spin move this week. You don't bust that out that much. Normally it's just sheer force with you, but I saw the spin move this week. It looked good.
Hey man, keep mixing up. Stay in your bag, baby.
I love it. I love your age still evolving. Gotta love it, man. I love that. All right, third down. One of your favorite topics here: the hip drop tackle.
Woo!
He was uncalled on Joe Mixon this week. He looked like he was injured. Hopefully, he's okay. We've talked about this before. They have not called it for a penalty yet, which is kind of strange. They had an opportunity to probably multiple times and haven't. Where do you stand on this, and what are you seeing that they have not called it yet? Do you expect them to start calling it?
I think there was a bunch of literature and there was a bunch of videos to support this hip drop tackle. I think, but there was also a big uprising of guys who didn't want to see it called. It's such a critical call and it could change the outcome of a game. I think they're less hesitant to call because they don't understand it fully. And then what's going to happen are just you're going to get your FedEx in the mail. It's going to be a package. It might start off at $8,000. It might keep going upwards from there. But you have guys that are the quote unquote hip drop tacklers of the league, and they're on notice, and these guys need to be targeted. But for the most part, guys don't really do that. I think you get sometimes linebackers, safeties, but up front you don't really get it. So it's a rule that doesn't happen a lot, but if it does, it's going to get fined and then eventually called.
I can just imagine the first time on a 3rd and 8, you guys get called for a hip drop. You're going to lose your mind. You're going to lose it. You are. I want to go to the Kansas City and Cincinnati game. In that game, people have speculated that Jamar Chase felt he was hip dropped in that play. I didn't think so. I thought it was a little high. But he lost his mind in the frustration. As a defender, I do want to ask you, when you see an offensive guy just lose his mind like that, does that make you feel good? Does it pump you up? Or what does the defense think when they see a guy just losing it, then he gets a 15-yard penalty on top of it?
When you see offensive players act out of character, do things they're not supposed to, scream, whine, you name it. It's just – you kind of relish that because you're doing something right. I think there was a guard one year early in the season, and I think his head was spinning the entire game, and he's cursing up the store, and he's asking his guys for help. The quarterback's yelling at him. It was fun to watch. You can start poking the bear, and you're like, damn, are you going to block me or what? Like, what you out here doing? And then if you can get in a quarterback's head, that is just icing on the cake. When you get a quarterback talking, pushing, trying to do stuff he's not used to doing, it leads for a fun day on defense. I'll say that.
Okay. Can you at least give us the team for the guard?
For what part? The guard?
The guard.
Bills.
Okay. And you have to, can you give me a time frame years wise or no?
Last 5 years.
Last 5 years. All right. I'm hoping one of our producers is working on that. Just send me the name right now. And then quarterback, you have to have one in mind that you've gotten in the head or frustrated. Brock Osweiler comes to mind. I don't know why, but he comes to mind.
It's funny. Me and Brock worked out in Arizona all together, and he would just talk, and I'd be like, Brock, you can't even move. Like, that's one of those one Indians we speak of. But like in college, I'll say this: one of my favorite memories is when we were playing Arkansas, and Ryan Mallett was talking a whole bunch of a mess. Rest in peace, Ryan Mallett. But Ryan Mallett was one of those guys who talked every single play, and so when you were in the backfield, you just knew you were getting under Ryan Mallett's skin. But I enjoy those times because when someone wants to go, when they go low, you go high. I go lower. I get real petty, and you just start to rub things in a little bit more.
I would say this, that people, one thing they do not know about the Walter Payton Man of the Year is that you truthfully are one of the most petty people I've ever, like, it is.
No, I'm not one of the most.
Listen, you can be petty with the best of them. And it's why you are where you are.
I don't forget.
You don't forgive, and you may forgive, but you do not forget ever. But yeah, no. But hey, that Jamar Chase stuff, he ain't mad about the hip drop, right? He's got other stuff he wants that he's pissed off about.
The contract?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know it.
I think there's a whole lot of that going in. If he was mad about the hip drop, I don't think he looked at the rule, but I just think he's frustrated for different reasons.
Not to get too into there, but can that kind of thing affect a locker room throughout the whole season?
No. I think they got a veteran group. You got guys that are going to stay locked in. You address it and move on, but, I don't think you really let that play a big part going forward.
Do you have a time that you remember you had to calm somebody down and tell them to just relax? And it wasn't you. I feel like you've had a moment where you needed to be relaxed.
First of all, I was going to say, I'm usually the one that's heated.
Yes.
I'm usually screaming. There's been pissed off times where I've yelled at a ref, gotten a flag. There's been times where I've just let it out on the sideline and, me and Minka are going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a time, in the locker room, there were some players that were upset. And usually when stuff like that happens, it's not usually you saying anything. It's just stepping in the way so it doesn't just get out of control. And then once you step in, you just keep pushing forward. So then there's this big gap in between them, and then they just wind up screaming over each other's head. And it's like, bro, it's dead by that point. Like, you're not even that close to each other. But I think as a leader, like, you got to be willing to have those conversations because at the end of the day, everybody just wants to win. Like, we can be mad, we can be upset, but usually it's come from a good place.
All right, so you said it was in the locker room. Was it at halftime of a game?
No, it wasn't halftime.
Oh, it wasn't halftime? Okay.
Wait, no, it was at halftime of the game.
I think I know what game it is. I'm not going to say. I think I know.
No, not the one you're
I
thinking
think I know
of.
what it was. You could go ahead and say it wasn't, but now we all know I'm right.
It wasn't.
Truthfully, when else could it have been? That is the game.
Oh, who were we playing?
It's the Jets. You guys were playing the Jets, right? Yeah, the Jets.
The Jets?
Yeah, it was the Jets.
No.
Pretty sure, dude. Jets or Browns, one of the two.
No.
Yep.
But yeah.
Two maybe skill guys got into it.
No. That one was besides the point. I was talking about a player and another player, a skill guy and an offensive lineman. How about that?
Wow. Oh man, you probably got to get in there just to save the skill guy at that point. That seems like that could get ugly real quick.
Yeah.
All right. Well, no one ever texted me too about the offensive guard that you made really upset. So
yeah,
hopefully we can get that by the end of the show.
We're good.
All right. Well, let's move on here. Fourth down here. 8-year-old girl wanted to go to Target so bad she stole her mom's car and drove to Target. Begs the question: what is the worst thing you've ever done when 10 years or younger?
I was a pretty good kid.
Mm-hmm.
One, because I looked like I was in 6th grade when I was in 2nd grade. Yes. Had a mustache. It's just, you wanted to calm everybody down, so you wanted to remain pretty gentle. But I will say my little brothers, on the other hand, might have been the terrors of the whole community. There was one time my brother Corey, My dad went into the store, was coming right back. Corey went to the front seat, took it out of park, and reversed and crashed. Yeah, that was one
What?
time. Corey is a terror. Shout out Corey Heyward. Um,
He's the middle one, the middle child, man. He can't help it. We can't help it.
and then he even upped himself years later. Um, you know, he ding dong ditched um, Lil Bow Wow and Omarion. And so he Corey and his friends uh, were pretty wild back then. And I know I'm just airing out his bad mistakes, but I can't really think of anything I did.
Well, I will say that you were always kind of like if we were with Cam, we were good. Our parents always just assumed everything was going
Yeah,
well, that we were behaving. I also think in your defense too, you're right. If you did anything wrong, you would be very easy to pick out of a lineup, considering you're a foot taller than all of us and you had a goatee.
well, I
Um,
also say the thing that like it's not really insane, but my dad embarrassed me so much growing up that like I was always scared, and so like going to school every day, he would just be blurring like he would have DMX like on loud every time I went to school, and because of that, I felt like I just feel so embarrassed I can't even like calm down, and so he always did things on the low to just kind of embarrass me here and there.
oh yeah. I remember the DMX. I remember all that. But the funny thing that you didn't tell about the Corey story is that they were chased back to your house by Omarion, Bow Wow, and the bodyguards.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like, listen, Corey was a wild one. I can't believe this turned into what Corey Hayward did
Yes.
at 10 years or younger. But yeah, I was more like Corey, man. I was ding dong ditching everybody in that neighborhood. That was if you got ding dong ditched in Sugarloaf Country Club between the years of 2001 and 2005, it was probably me. So yeah, that's kind of what we did. We weren't
Yeah.
that bad.
All right, before we give out our game balls, let's look ahead to this week's game against the Chargers. For me, I look at this game, um, two really good defenses.
Hmm.
I know our defenses came to play. I know their defenses balled out. Joey Bosa, uh, Khalil Mack, Bud Dupree. Um, I think their defense is just really stout. Um, I think also the thing you got to look at is they got an experienced quarterback in Justin Herbert.
Hmm.
Harbaugh has brought in a system that's more of a downhill running game. But looking forward to the game. It's our home opener. A chance for us to go 3-0. But, you can't overlook them because they are a good team. You look at that Raiders game, they just kept battling back. Was it pretty? No. But, you don't do it for style points. You do it to win the game. And you definitely see that they're able to win games in different ways.
Well, I think this is a great week for you. You always talk about stopping the run. That is
Mm-hmm.
like the number one thing whenever we talk about anything defensively. And I think this team can really run the ball. Familiar face in J.K. Dobbins.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that's what Harbaugh wants to do, right? That's the way
Yeah.
he wants to play. Have you played against Harbaugh before?
Yeah. When
So
he's with San Fran.
what do you see with his offenses? Is it a lot of heavy run, a lot of offensive linemen? How do you gear up for this, knowing it's going to be a lot on you in the front seven?
I think it's a lot on us in the front seven. And I think when you look at their explosive runs, it's not just like it was an open hole. They make guys miss. They bounce off of tackles or would be tackles. And so you got to bring the wood. You got to make sure you get these guys on the ground. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, they are a physical football team. And so, if it comes down to the line of scrimmage, we better bring a hard hat.
What do you think TJ? I know Joe Alt's been really good so far, but TJ's got to be liking seeing a rookie come into Pittsburgh this weekend, right?
Man, TJ just wants to compete. TJ's going to go out there and try to have a good game. But, Joel Alt has played pretty good up to this point. And so, should be a fun matchup.
Sounds like TJ's happy to be out of the altitude though. He said I
Yeah.
heard about the game. He was tired after that game.
I told him to get on the oxygen, bro. He was being, stubborn. Oh, I don't need that, and then the last couple plays, he's just jogging off the field like he has no wind in his chest. It's tough in the altitude, and some guys think it's not that serious. Don't play around with it. You will be very surprised by that.
Is that his first time in Denver?
I don't know if it's his first time.
Because I don't remember if he was on the team, because you guys hadn't played in Denver in a while. So I don't know if it was his first time, but if it was, it sounds like he learned his lesson. All right, let's go game balls of the week. Like this is not just one game ball. If you got a few, do a few. Go for it.
My first game ball, I'm going to give to the man who was always holding his great exception card when he was a kid. Darnell Washington. That dude got his first touchdown, saluted to honor his brother who's in the military forces. But what a cool way to score where the DB just looks way too small to even compete. And it went exactly how we thought it was going to go, and he dominated that matchup.
That might be the most unstoppable play in football. If the DB, dude, that looked like seriously like a grown man playing against a fourth grader. He is. I know we always talk about how big he is, but that was unfair. Great ball by Justin too, but I hate to say it, that's got to be the play at the goal line. Just go chuck it up to him. I mean, he boxes you out, it's done. You got any more? You want to keep going, or you want?
You go first. You go next.
Okay. Well, obviously, we got to go. We got to go. Shout out the fantasy football guys, baby. We have not gotten fantasy football in yet. Justin Jefferson, Alvin Kamara, and Breece Hall took me to victory. The Wombat Tokers got the W this week. Very happy with them. Great job, guys.
The Wombat Tokers.
Yeah, okay. That's the fantasy football
day. I would say another winner. Now, I'm biased. I care about my Pittsburgh Steelers. But Corey Trice, another guy that I just think to come up with a really critical interception was huge. And another guy from the game I would say is Corliss Waitman. Getting on a plane, coming back to Pittsburgh, and delivering some really good punts on short notice, holding the ball for Boz, and not missing a beat there is pretty special.
Also, I want to give one more to our boy Christian Kuntz. Just haven't seen him in a while, so I just wanted to give him a game ball. Just missed the guy. So yeah, shout out Kuntz. Shout out Kuntz. Give Kuntz. Hey, those snaps looked pretty crisp. Okay, they looked pretty crisp this week.
You actually watched the snaps,
and I saw him hustling downfield. Saw him just leaving his feet to make a tackle. He didn't make the tackle, but he the effort was there. Also, he did start his own podcast. Go leave bad reviews on it because what happened to our segment with him? What happened?
I don't know.
All right, let's go to our TFLs here. All right, Cam. Tackles for loss. This is probably the negative stuff that happened this week.
Yes.
So what you got for us?
I'm going to do the game management of the Philadelphia Eagles Atlanta Falcons game because Philadelphia blew a chance to, end the game, went for a pass, stops it on a fourth down. And so now Atlanta gets a chance to go back. They go all the way down the field, go for a touchdown.
Saquon's got to catch that ball, though, right?
Saquon's got to catch it, but
Saquon's got to catch it. I agree, but
why not run the ball? You were running it down their throats.
I totally agree on that. I agree. I think if you ask Saquon Barkley, he would tell you, I got to make that play. You're right. He's averaging 9 yards a rush. I mean, You know what I mean? I'm going to go to college football for my TFL. And I'm going to hit two schools, Florida State and the Florida Gators. I mean, what has happened to those two in college football? Florida State has just totally fallen off the rails. They look horrible. Also, tackle for loss, the Baltimore Ravens. That's a bad loss at home to the Raiders. So, yeah, it's all about losses. If you have bad losses, you're going to be on my tackle for loss.
Okay. I would say my next tackle for loss.
Bad losses.
Is going to go to... Man, I'm really hoping this guy gets back soon, but Quinn Ewers got hurt. And so, you see how dynamic he's been. Arch Manning steps up. They were able to win the game, but if they're going to talk about winning a national championship, he's got to get back.
It's kind of weird seeing a Manning, though, have that long of a touchdown run, wasn't it?
Crazy.
Good run, man. I mean, I don't know. You were talking about Peyton, being a statue in the pocket, but I mean, I will say – that was pretty impressive, man. I didn't know Arch had the wheels like that. We obviously know he could throw it, But the wheels, man. I mean, where did that come? That's got to be Archie, right? That ain't Peyton or Eli.
Well, Arch's dad is.
Well, it's Cooper, but it's got to be I'm talking Grandpa.
But I heard Coop was very athletic. Coop
Yeah,
was.
but that's just they say that because he wasn't in the pros. They try to make him feel better because he wasn't in the NFL. Yeah, I mean,
Do you remember film of Archie Manning?
I've seen film. Yeah, I watched.
Was he very athletic?
I mean, he's just running around like a madman back there. He also got crushed. He was not on very good teams, I don't think, when he was playing. But he could definitely move more than Peyton and Eli did. I mean, Peyton and Eli did not move a whole lot, so it would be hard to move less than them. But Arch, that was impressive, man. I mean, he could move.
Yeah, I think he's gotten every single athletic gene in that family, and he's reaping the benefits because of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he might get a chance to start this weekend, so we'll see.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you guys for listening. We will be back next week with a new episode of Not Just Football. Make sure you like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and we will see you next time on the Vox Media Network.